and welcome back to the Chap's Guide, the channel where we explore the topics of men's style, self-development and personal grooming. And today, well, the question we're going to answer is, should you invest in an automatic watch or a quartz wristwatch? Because at some point in your Chap's journey towards nirvana, you will find yourself wrestling with the question, should I buy a quartz watch, modest amount of money, good looking watch? Or should I take the plunge and invest in an expensive automatic mechanical watch, which costs a lot more money for not a great deal of difference in initial looks? That's the question we're here to talk about today. I hope I can help you come to a decision as I came to a decision in my journey. Let's get started. Well, firstly, before we come to any sort of decision, we've got to understand the contenders in this game. And firstly, let's talk about the most popular one, and that'll be the quartz watch. Now, quartz watches are the cheaper option, and they are by far the most numerous wristwatches that you will find in the world. They will be on the wrists of the vast majority of the watch-wearing population on this planet at any given time. So what are they all about? How do they work? And why do people choose them over mechanical wristwatches? You will recognize a quartz watch in operation as the second hand ticks with quite defined movements, jerks almost, of the 1 second increments as it counts down the time. And this is quite opposed to the very much more fluid and continuous movement of the second hand on a mechanical watch as it ticks along. Now, the big advantage of the quartz watch as well, of course, is that it never needs to be wound by human mechanical means or by the flywheel. And it is powered, of course, by that battery, which can be easily removed and changed. In fact, they can last for many years. But when it is time to change them, it can be achieved in the matter of minutes by just removing the case back and replacing that battery. So quite straightforward. The other thing as well, because of the small number of internal components housed within that quartz watch, it can have a very slim profile on the wrist, which can make it attractive to people who don't like perhaps larger, bulkier wristwatches. And of course, because of those small number of components and the simple, inexpensive components, it means that the quartz watch requires no servicing and can be made extremely cheaply in mass production locations. So they can be turned out in their hundreds, if not thousands in a day, which is quite juxtaposed to, of course, the automatic watch, which is a much more complex, intricate process of manufacture. Since its introduction to the watch market in 1969 with the Seiko Aston, the quartz watch has absolutely dominated the watch market because of its inexpensive nature, its simplicity of manufacture, and the fact that, in the past, a mechanical automatic watch was the preserve of perhaps people who could afford these pieces. Now, all of a sudden, the quartz watch meant that everybody could have an extremely accurate, reliable wristwatch on their wrist, and it really changed the face of watches forevermore. So let's talk about the automatic watch at the other end of the market. Well, the automatic watch keeps its time by way of a series of gears and cogs in a highly intricate engine which vibrate to manage the passing of time. Now, these have to be kept wound up, which is either done mechanically by physically winding the watch, or as in the case with most automatic watches, this is done by a flywheel inside the movement of the watch, which winds the watch with the movement of the wearer. And if the watch winds down, if it hasn't been worn for a few days, it'll simply stop. Whereas, of course, the quartz watch will tick on for the entirety of the life of its battery. The mechanical watch requires an interface with its human wearer to keep that time ticking along. Now, many automatic watches have additional complications as well. Some will keep track of the day, the date. They will keep track of fractions of a second when it comes to a chronograph. Some will keep track of the calendar way in advance, continuous calendars, and some will be able to track additional time zones when it comes to GMT watches. But however complex the automatic watch is, it will never match the accuracy of the Quartz wristwatch. Even though this watch is a certified chronometer, meaning that it has certain tolerances of its timekeeping, at its very best day, it will never be as accurate as most likely the most inexpensive Quartz watch, simply because the science involved in the maintenance of time in a Quartz watch means that its accuracy is absolute finite, whereas the automatic watch, there are certain things which can have influence upon that keeping of time. Now, the automatic watch may be spotted due to its almost flowing perpetual movement of its second hand, and the less defined audible tick if you were to put your ear right up to this unit here. They require, though, regular servicing to maintain that accuracy, which can be very costly indeed, far more so than the servicing of your car, although thankfully less frequently. And due to that many components that they have, they can be much heavier, much larger, much more thicker, and of course vastly more expensive than a very similar looking Quartz watch. So taking all these things into account, why would anybody choose an automatic watch over a Quartz watch in the modern era? You know, that's a very good question, because we know in 2015, 97% of the watches sold in that year were actually Quartz, which means that a very small proportion were actually automatic. And as I say, it's a good question to ask, because it's almost like to buy an automatic watch, you're buying into a technology which is now outdated, obsolete, and has been superseded by the Quartz, which is better in almost every way, or so it seems. These days, in which Quartz watches are inexpensive and easily available, people choose an automatic watch not just to tell the time, of course, because that can be achieved just by looking at your cell phone, but people choose them for the feelings and emotions that they derive from owning a thing, a complex technical item that was made lovingly by a craftsman and has a history of traditional prestige. An automatic watch is often the item chosen by a person and purchased to mark a significant life event, such as a birthday, a retirement, or a marriage. In fact, this watch is one which I picked up to celebrate my retirement this year, and it's something that will stay with me forever and evoke the emotions which came with that significant milestone in my life. Of course, automatic watches are aesthetically beautiful, indeed to a degree, so are Quartz watches, and they can be seen as the physical manifestation of the character of its owner, often denoting a level of success and the wearer's sophistication. You know, like many men's accessories, they're so independent and bespoke to the person who wears them that they become part of your character, part of the architecture of your life. I think also the heritage and the history of the watch manufacturers themselves plays a huge part in somebody's decision to buy an automatic watch over a Quartz watch as well. So, you know, when you look back at brands like Rolex, you know, it evokes thoughts in your mind of material success, of achievement. Then you've got stoically reliable brands like Omega and Tudor, which make tough, rough watches, often associated with characters a bit like Rolex, with James Bond and other, you know, famous fictional characters who are seen wearing these pieces. An automatic watch, I think, is often seen as a thing of admiration and aspiration for people. I don't know about you, but I've often had conversations with my family and friends which begins with the sentence, do you know, if I won the lottery? And normally after the house and the car, what's the next thing that comes to your mind? For me, it's the watch, or the material things that you would surround yourself with, which you can't afford right now, or you can afford, but you don't really want to apportion that sort of level of financial risk into it. But if the lottery came, these are the things that you would treat yourself with. And that's why I think people aspire to those brands like Omega, Tudor, Cartier, Rolex, of course, and the big names like Patek Philippe and things like that, because these are the aspirational levels that we've set ourselves in life. Now, we'll probably never achieve those levels. You know, how many of us will ever own a Patek Philippe watch? But it's nice to look up towards something for that, you know, some time. somebody, one of us watching this channel, may win the lottery. And when that time comes, you can ascend that golden ladder towards your Patek Philippe and achieve your horological goal. And that will seem like a fabulous sense of achievement. And every time you look down at that watch, you will think to yourself, I did it. I got there. I achieved that landmark moment. Be it the lottery or personal success or retirement or a wedding or a birthday or whatever situation that your watch comes to you in, it will mark that moment in time forever. And don't forget, of course, your quality automatic watch is a sign of somebody's overt success. Now, I don't know about you. If you like watches, you'll understand this, but I know I've been to many sort of social gatherings, and you know, you look around the room, you do your radar assesses the other people in the room if you've not met them before, and you do the simple things. What I always do, I look at the way they're dressed, look at the quality of their shoes, and if you're close enough to see it, I look at the watch that they're wearing. Gives me an indication. It's the window into the life and the status of the person that you're meeting. Call it shallow if you will, but I use the skills that I have and what's available to me. Of course, when you get to meet people, you know them a bit more deeply, you're not so taken in by these physical things. But if you meet a stranger, you can only go with what you can see. And I know I've reached over to my wife and said, who's that guy over there? You know, he's wearing a gold Rolex. What does he do for a living? And these are just little signs and indicators which you can use as you go through life to help you recognize success and understand more about the people that you meet. It's all about making those first impressions. Let's go back to that question. Do you choose an automatic watch or a quartz watch? Well, I think you've already worked it out. For me, the answer is the mechanical automatic watch, because I think the automatic watch is for the chap who appreciates the keeping of time in a classic traditional manner. He appreciates the intricacies, the difficulty that was undertaken and overcome in manufacturing such a small, precious piece of machinery which keeps time to the second per day. And not just that, but it's a sign of your taste, your class. In some cases, for those who are that way inclined, it demonstrates to the people that you meet that you're a success in the field that you work in. Perhaps if you've invested a lot of money in a wristwatch, it shows that you're somebody who's thought carefully about where you put your money and you've chosen something which is tasteful and classy. Now, of course, that doesn't mean that I don't appreciate and value the qualities of the quartz watch. You know, I regularly wear a quartz watch when I'm out in the outdoors or doing things where, you know, I wouldn't wear an expensive timepiece, but also you want absolute accuracy, you want waterproofness, you know, you want to have confidence in your watch that is unshakable. And you absolutely do get that with a quartz watch. There's no denying that at all. You know, you look at people who trust their lives to the passing and the measurement of time, special forces soldiers, divers, and I think you'll find they're not wearing automatic watches, they're wearing quartz, digital watches which are absolutely perfect in their measurement of time. And that's not what this is all about. If it was a competition on capability, of course the quartz watch would win every day. But it's not just all about that, is it? Human beings, we only get a finite amount of time on this planet. And that is why the measurement of that time is so fundamentally important to who we are and what we are. And I think that is why, when taken as a round, why we select that automatic watch to show our class, taste, and, you know, material achievement perhaps to some. So there we go, that's my thought. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this video today talking about the values and the virtues of the automatic and the quartz watch. If you have, I would invite you to click the thumbs up button and join us here at the Chap's Guide community, where I would be delighted if you would leave us a comment in the comment section below. If you've got a different view, or whether you'd just like to tell me something different to my own thoughts. I look forward to seeing you in the next video, and until then, please take care of yourselves, and I'll see you again very soon.